idea.
I know.
You know?
I'm making a documentary.
Okay.
And you're going to be in it now.
On the
And it's about the queer side of the international film industry. And you're one of my first stars.
Yeah.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
They're better. There is better. It's a private.
We're off to a party.
Let's queer this up. Let's queer this up.
Let's go, and then we can take one of me like as I'm walking off.
So, can I ask a quick question about casting as a director? You know, do you think a lot of actors in Germany or Europe are out to their agent? Their sexuality is known, it is open, or the
No.
gender diversity?
Absolutely not.
Really? Okay, that's quite interesting. I honestly thought you would say the
gender
opposite.
diversity, no. So sexual orientation is still a big taboo.
Really?
And especially amongst actors.
Really?
Yes.
Even in
absolutely.
Europe? Even in Western Europe?
Absolutely.
Were there many gay actors who are out to their agents, and is that an issue, you think, in the States?
I think not as much. I think it used to be. I think now the problem is more of like who's playing gay characters. Is it straight men that are portraying these people, or is it actually gay actors playing gay characters? Which I think is super important because, you know, for so long you've got kind of that like straight washing thing where gay actors would play straight characters,
Yes.
and now you have the flip side of it where straight actors are playing gay characters even harder, if that makes any sense.
Really?
So you've kind of got like the breakthrough of like, do we let, just because someone is a name, even though they're straight, do we let them, you know, continue on, or do
Yep.
we kind of reserve that spot for
Yep.
the gay actors that have been waiting to play these roles for years?
You guys see, particularly around LGBT issues and content and audiences and what's going on in the film industry, both working within it and also in terms of production and content creation. And what are your thoughts about what's going on? Like,
sometimes it hits the mark, sometimes it completely misses the mark.
I mean, gay has gone mainstream.
yes, it has.
And queer is getting mainstream now. And you have queer characters in a lot of movies nowadays.
What do you see happening in the LGBTQI area? What's going on at the moment? What do you think's going on?
Well-
Underrepresented, overrepresented, not accurately represented?
I definitely think that there's been sort of growing discourse around transgender identity, but that in some ways that has actually obscured and created further misunderstanding of intersex, because intersex is about sex and not just necessarily gender identity. And so our film really tries to educate and create clarity around intersex and also the specific needs of the intersex community, you know, within the acronym, but also separately representing specifically intersex people in their own. I just really think that they should just open the doors more.
Yeah.
And to give voices to LGBTQ plus
Yeah.
and women of
Yeah.
color.
Kind of
Have
very
maybe
sad to hear.
5 gay actors that are out in France and in Germany. Most of them are hiding their sexuality still, because they still think, and they're encouraged by their agents and by their production and distribution companies not to do so, because they might lose their fan base. And a lot of people are not courageous enough to do it.
What do you see happening for directors, and what do you see going on in the queer side of the industry at the moment internationally?
I think once we get past the general gay as a jewel or as a purse effect, where we find a gay thing and we're like, ooh, shiny, look at this gay
Yes.
thing. That's kind of what's happened with Call Me By Your Name, Love, Simon, which are all great films, but they're all kind of being showcased as a marketing advantage, where
Yes.
that's the hot button topic.
That we're going to cast our next film starring Jamie Newman with an all-trans cast.
Right.
Just to give trans people an opportunity
Yep.
to really showcase that they have the same amount of talent that
Yeah.
us people, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever experienced any homophobia in the film industry in any way yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually at a film festival a couple of weeks ago, and the title of the panel that my film was at had HIV in it, and this event was about 1,500 people, maybe 1,000 people strong, and there were about 10, 15 people that showed up to this panel because of the word HIV. So even within the LGBTQ community, you've got subcultures that
Yes.
are being kind of discriminated against.
Yes.
And I think that's where our story starts and where it keeps going. So we're hoping to kind of alter those things and shake it up a little bit, because the more people know, the less afraid they are of them, you know, especially in 2019.
I have friends myself in Germany. They're actors, and,
Yeah.
and they're out. They go out. They have a life. They have a sexual life. They go to gay bars, but they're like, on a professional level, I'd rather not say it. Because, you know, I might not get the roles that I want, get the parts that I want, and my agent tells me it's better not. Don't do it. It's like, I think it's such a shame.
Is the quota idea working, that there must be a certain number of places must be available for people from all different strands of diversity? Or?
I don't know. I am kind of like, if you have to force it that hard, is it really working? But at the same time, I'm like, it also is keeping that content flowing, whether it is forced or not. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because the forced content can kind of be used against us if we're not careful.
Yes, it's a
So I
really
feel like
interesting
there's a fine
observation.
line.
Yes, there is. Where does how does the art work with this idea of a human rights approach? And how do we reconcile those two? It's an interesting question, I agree, and I haven't got any clear answers from anybody on it, to be perfect.
I don't know, it's hard, because I think that when you're trying to keep us in the spotlight at the same time as trying to tell our authentic stories, it's hard to not look like we're marketing ourselves.
Yes.
But to an extent, that's what movies are, is marketing. So you kind of have to take that away from it for a second. I think it's just important to have the right representation telling the stories. So it's not just a white guy who's trying to make another dollar. I think it's diverse faces, diverse voices. We're working on the crews of these things to make them come to life.
I think the challenge is that sometimes when things come out of the queer community and into the mainstream, the message can be really dumbed down or to be made more palatable. And really, we're trying to keep this as authentic as possible, to really tell this story of this experience true to the authentic experience of these people.
Yeah. I met a couple of distributors that are basically specialising in LGBT content now, or that at least 50% of their kind of films are.
Wow.
What do you think? What do you sort of see going on in that zone at the distribution end? It's quite interesting.
Like I said, I think it's starting to break out of the like cookie cutter picket fence white boy who's gay and who's very sexy and attracted to the sexiest other white boy, and I think it's breaking out of that is going to help, because then you'll have more progress happening, because those are the ones that are gaining traction right now in the US.
Yes,
Yep.
Positive change despite barriers.
We hope so.
Yeah. Thank you for your wonderful time and energy, and you're an extraordinary role model. I think we often lack role models in our industry at a lot of levels.
Thanks so much.
And I think you're going to have an extraordinarily bright future.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Okay, let's get back to that crazy party.
Absolutely.
Visibility is a key issue to me. If you're visible, then you're seen, and then you're recognized as such, or people fight against you, but at least you're there the way you are.
Yes.
If you pretend to be straight, then nothing is ever going to change.
Yes.
Because if people think you're straight, then you play along with the dominant rule, and it's going to just stay the same as it is.